Hey guys, Brian Schroeder here with Buyers Club. I'm with Roger Wallach, attorney at law.
Yeah,
Is that an exciting thing to say?
yeah, sure. It was when I got the diploma. It was like, wow,
That's
what
cool.
really?
Right on.
I know.
So,
Um,
so Roger, I know, I know you pretty well, and you're an attorney that you got a large skill set. You can do a lot of different things. I would say, tell me if this is accurate. Under the umbrella of real estate and business, is that kind of your umbrella?
that's the sweet spot. That's
That's the
our
sweet
that's
spot.
our wheelhouse.
Okay, so there in the still real estate and business, that's a broad.
Hmm.
So I want all of our members to know that they can call you about anything under that umbrella.
Yes,
But share maybe what are maybe the top three or four things that you like to do and you do quite a bit of. Just
sure.
give our members an
Yeah,
idea what you do.
sure. And thanks. I'm glad to be here and
All right,
do this with you. But
absolutely.
certainly we know how to structure the businesses. So if you're wondering, do I need an LLC? I've heard about a land trust. Is that a realistic thing or should I not do that? But we certainly know what those are and can advise you on that. The simple thing of, do I need one LLC? Do I need a separate LLC for every property? Just those basic questions, how to structure the business. So, and then we help you decide, and then we do the paperwork to make it happen.
Yeah.
That's a good entree,
Yeah.
and a good reason to start with someone like me. Um, Certainly, we can do something where if you found a deal and you have contracts that you want to look over, is there any gotchas in this contract?
Yeah.
Anything I should be aware of that might trip me up? Again, for pretty, and that's we do charge by the hour like most attorneys, but I can go through it pretty quick
Yeah.
if all I'm doing is reviewing and then giving you some feedback.
Perfect.
So that's another good starting point where you might use me just a little, but
Okay.
could save you a lot, keep you out of serious trouble.
Yeah.
Um, we certainly do a lot of specific services, like people who are involved in hard money loans. I can look over those contracts, but I've also drafted them from scratch. So, I mean,
We got a lot of private lenders and hard
right,
money lenders in this group.
right. So if a hard money lender also turned out, first of all, we can look over not only should they have a promissory note, but a deed of trust. If you're a hard money lender, you know that, but still, sometimes you need a loan agreement also. A lot of times you don't. But again, I would know why you might and when. Then it comes time, hopefully never, but once in a while, you might have to foreclose on that deed of trust.
Yep.
We know how to do that. So we can, that's what I think Brian was referring to, of we have a wide skill set within the world of real estate and investing.
Yeah, those are some great examples of things you do. I appreciate you going over those things. I when I think about you, Roger, and I've known you for a long time, or known of you for a long
Sure.
time, I kind of think you also are an attorney that understands and is willing to do things that are a little bit more creative. Would you
Yes,
agree with that?
I would. I mean, I
Okay.
mentioned land trusts because that's one way I got started, was I think it's important investors know this. My wife and I are investors.
Okay, that is important.
We've gone through, we've made every other, except for the legal mistakes, which hopefully I caught most of them. We made every other mistake that you can make. So I know exactly where you are. I know how hard it is, but also how much fun it is. And so I am a hands-on. I've been the hands-on guy also, along with my wife, who really, she's even better than I am at
Is your
that part.
wife an attorney?
No, that's what I'm saying. She
She's
was
just
the
an
one.
investor.
She went down with the crews and watched all day
Oh,
long, and eventually learned how to tape and paint. She's not a, she doesn't do electric or plumbing or anything, but she, now she's doing fine art. But
fine art.
she always had that.
Oh, so she likes
She
painting.
likes painting.
Okay.
She didn't almost even realize that she was going to like that part of it. But there she is watching the crews. She's getting in it. Once the sheetrock is up, it's a little heavy for her to,
Yeah,
but she's not good with a screw gun.
yeah.
But once it's all in place, she got to the point where she could mud and tape and then paint and then everything. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And she
That's
can
awesome.
cut in without taping first.
That's
She's
awesome.
amazing. So anyway, um, things I like to do. When it gets more complex, like someone mentioned tonight, joint venture
Yeah.
versus other ways of partnering up. limited partnership is another way. Well, why would you use one and the other? You don't need to learn that. That's that's what we know how to do. But if you're looking to put, let's say, a deal together, you do what you do, and you found someone whose skills complement you, and you're going to do a project together. But how should you structure that? Now that's where if you don't do something good at the beginning in terms of how you structure that deal, someone's going to get hurt. I can guarantee it. You need to talk to each other, and with our help, because right now you don't know who's going to need to get out and who's going to want to stay, let's say.
Awesome. And
So we know how to structure those
yeah,
deals.
we talked about a lot of things here already, but another thing I guess I want to make sure people understand is there's some lawyers that don't like to do litigation. They
Oh,
just don't do it at all. I
you're
think they're
right.
more just transactional lawyers.
Right.
But you're willing to do litigation, and you're good at it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I have more than one to be honest, it's not always me that's going to do the litigation,
Yeah.
but I have at least two lead litigators right now, and I'm looking to expand, but I certainly have those two. And we have a room in our calendar to take on more. And yes, we're not afraid of every kind of breach of contract, breach of fiduciary duty, and everything else you may have heard of. We've also done very specific situations. You might have two owners where you need a partition because a brother and sister inherited, and one wants to keep it and the other wants to get bought out, but they can't agree on a price. Those, again, another kind of dispute that we are used to handling. So I could probably spend the whole.
All right. I think everybody's got a pretty good idea what you do. So thanks for sharing this, Roger. I always like to end these conversations by asking you, you've been doing this a long time. I gotta believe in your field, you run across some crazy stories. People that I don't know. You've got to have a crazy story in your business. If somebody that did something crazy, or one of your clients, or somebody that you were, tell us a story.
Okay.
Give us something interesting.
You caught me off guard, but I think I have one.
Okay, go for it.
All right. A lady came to me, and she was looking to move out. She moved out of the city. She'd raised a family in the city, but she was, and divorced the husband a long time ago. But now she was ready. The kids are gone, to sell the house and move out to the county. She'd stayed in the city maybe too long in a certain sense. She's in a small house in the city. Well, she goes to work every day, but she manages to get her new house. Her credit's good enough. She didn't have to wait to sell the old house to have the money to get the new house.
Right.
So she moves out to the county.
Yep.
But finally she's got a deal. They're going to buy the old house.
Yes.
The title company calls her up like a week before closing and says, "We checked this. You don't own that house."
How did this happen?
What do you mean I don't own that house? Well, not only that, we've gone by there and there's somebody living there. So she comes to us, and after digging, there's a forged deed. Of course, she told them that, but the title company's going, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Right? They don't, right? Identity theft is essentially, it's like a sophisticated, more complicated form of identity theft. And people, in real identity theft, it's a scary situation because at first nobody believes you. You're just trying to say you didn't buy that so you don't have to pay for it, right? Or whatever the situation is. They forged the deed. It took a ring of 3 people because the notary was fake, the realtor was fake, and the seller was fake.
Okay.
And they actually not only forged the deed and with a fake notary and everything, but then they rented it to people as if they were the real owners.
Okay.
And so now there's tenants in there who are bona fide tenants who don't even realize it. Right. So you're going to have to undo the whole real estate situation and then eventually evict the tenants also.
Wow.
It's hugely complicated. We managed to and she didn't have a lot of money. She was going to walk away.
Wow.
She was going to walk away. We figured something else out. Talk about creativity.
Yeah.
That notary, though, turned out, in other words, the notary cheated. The notary was notarizing signatures that he didn't see anybody actually sign, right? Those were fake signatures.
Yep.
But the notary license was real. There's such a thing as a notary bond.
Right.
We sued on the bond and won quickly and
Right.
got the money so she could pay us enough. It wasn't a lot of money because notary bonds are not huge.
10 grand or
Yeah,
20 grand.
but it was
something
enough
like that.
to cover the legal fees.
Yeah.
That made her breathe easy, left the problem in our hands. at least she didn't have to come out of pocket for us to solve it.
Were you eventually able
We
to?
solved it, and she was able to sell that house for not a lot, 60,000 maybe,
Yeah, still,
but
yeah,
that's a
that was
lot
a
of
lot of
money
money
for her.
Yeah,
And,
that's a crazy story.
yeah,
Thanks for
and
sharing
people
that.
moved right. I mean, but the point is, she speculated, and I imagine it's true. They must have seen her move out
Yeah.
at one point, watched for a while, and realized she's not coming back, and then they just swooped in and acted like it was theirs.
Wow.
Just
In the end, did they get prosecuted?
well, they never showed up in court,
Okay.
right?
Well, you got the house
We
back.
got the house back. Interestingly enough, the Missouri State Attorney General piggybacked on our case and did file actions against them, but he also never found them.
Gotcha.
But he tried to prosecute them. Yeah,
Wow.
because they did it not only to us.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
us, by us, I mean me, the client. Right. Um, Turned out there were about 4 or 5 similar suits going at the same time. But we got all the way to the money first, and were able to get that house title restored to her, and then she was able to sell it, and that was a huge thing for her. But it was a crazy. When I first came across it, I'm like, wow. So it's really great. Thanks for having me here, and I've always enjoyed coming to the Buyers Club monthly meeting, and just enjoyed doing business in this whole atmosphere.